Hi guys, Crystal here from Crystal Design. I am going to show you how to divide the body stitches and sleeve stitches today for the Nebbia sweater. I've worked up a little extra small so that I can show you this technique. And so that means my instructions have told me now to stop increasing and go to the body section. So I have slip stitched my last round together, and I'm getting ready to turn and work that body divide row. I'm going to show you first. Here's my neck hole. This is my foundation row 1, and we've been increasing out like so. When you fold it in half, it looks like this. You can see I've already marked where I'm going to divide here. Okay, so for the extra small size, it says to double crochet in the first 20 stitches. So let me first do my chain 2 and turn. Oops. There we go. Now I'm just going to work into the next 20 stitches. I am doing the front loop, back loop stitch to give it the texture. So I always start with a front loop, double crochet, and then I go into the back loop. Oops. I'm just going to repeat that for 20 stitches. All right, so I have double crocheted into my first 20 stitches for the extra small, and now I'm going to skip stitches. The skip stitches will count for my sleeve stitches. So for extra small, I'm skipping 26. For small, you would skip 28. So I've already marked those stitches. This is the 26th stitch. So my last body stitch was in the back loop only. I'm going to skip the next 26 stitches. I'm counting. Remember, your chain stitches that we were using for our increases count as a stitch, so you're counting those just as you do the double crochets. So I've marked the 26th stitch, counted off the 26, and then I marked the first stitch of my skipped ones, which is actually the 21st stitch. Counted 26th, mark that last one. So now the next stitch that's unmarked, I'm going to double crochet into. So I'm just skipping over those stitches. So I've marked them and even joined them together so you can see how they form a sleeve hole, an armhole there. So I have a front loop here. I have a back loop. Front loop, back loop. So my next stitch should be a front loop. So I'm skipping an even number here, which means I'm also going to need a front loop. A front loop there. So back loop, the next one is going to be front loop, which I can check when I look at the stitch I'm going into also, because you just keep doing the opposite there. Then we're going to do back loop, front loop, and just keep going to the next sleeve divide, which is for extra small 40 stitches. So I'm going to count 40 from here. And you can see how it just is automatically joined there. When I join my yarn on to crochet my sleeves, then I will slip stitch that together so you're minimizing the hole, and you can use your tail to sew that together in the end if there's still too much of a gap for you. Okay, so now we are just continuing on the body. For the extra small, we're double crocheting front loop, back loop into the next 40 stitches until we get to our next sleeve, which we will skip our next 26 stitches there. All right, I have double crocheted across my body stitches from my first sleeve to my next. So this is my 40 stitches for the extra small size. Then I am going to skip the next 26 stitches. So I have marked the first one of those 26 and the last one of those. So I know the very next one is the one I will be crocheting into. And again, I ended with a back loop double crochet so that I know my next stitch will be a front loop. Double crochet, and that right there joins the body together and separates out the sleeve. And again, once we join on to our sleeve and work those, we will slip stitch those together. So now I'll just finish the round and continue in my back loop, front loop, double crochet, And round 1 of my body is complete, and my sleeves are divided. Hi guys, Crystal here. I am going to show you how to join onto your sleeves. So we just divided our body and did our first round of our body row, and we have our sleeves counted off. So I marked my first and last stitch of my sleeves, which were my skipped stitches from the previous round. So I have separated those, but I left the stitch markers in because I'm going to start by joining my yarn and slip stitching these two together, and then I'm going to work around, continuing in the front loop, back loop only. Okay, so I'm going to start with my slip knot on my hook. Then I am going to take this stitch, the last stitch here, under there, to the first one, and just going to join them with a slip stitch. Okay, so I slip stitch those two together, but I still need to make sure I work into them. So that, again, that's one reason why I left this. So this will be my last stitch since I'm working from right to left around here, and this will be my first stitch. So I'm going to start with my chain 2, and into that first stitch I am going to go into that same stitch. I'm going to do my front loop, back loop. Looks like, there it is. So let me go under the front loop. Got it pulled funny here. There we go. And then I am working into my chain 1 next. Remember, those chains count, so look for them because they do get pulled tight. And after this point, you don't have to worry about them anymore because you'll work into them on the body and the first round of your sleeves, and you'll be done with those. Okay, and then the next one is a front loop, and there I've worked over my increase stitches over that one. So I just continue around front loop, back loop, and then I'll show you how to join that and what that looks like. If it's difficult to tell front loop, back loop, you can just look at your stitches, right? So this loop is showing because I went into the back loop on that one. This loop is not showing because I went into the front loop, so that kind of tells you where you are. So back loop here and back loop below it. Front loop here, so front loop on top. They are lined up since we are really working this in rows since we turn after each row around. Okay, now I'm at the end of my first round, my first row of my sleeves, and I have 2 stitches left. So I'm back loop, front loop, and then my marked stitch here, it's gonna go in the back loop. You know, I can take that stitch marker out now if it's too much in the way. Back loop. Okay, and then my first 2 stitches, my chain 2 to get me started, and I am slip stitching to the top of my first double crochet, and then I'm going to turn and carry on doing front loop, back loop all the way around. And as you can see, we have separated out our sleeves and our body. So they are separate there. We'll have just that little bit of gap, and I'll use this tail to sew that together once I'm all finished. And that is how you separate out your sleeves and your body. It's much easier than it might sound if you've never done it before, but it's essential that you just count your stitches and make sure you have the right number. And for this pattern, for that front loop, back loop technique, you just want to make sure you have an even number. And you can usually look at your stitch rows that you've already previously done to see if you're doing it in the right one. And some of the sizes where you divide, like if it's in the chain 1 or the double crochet, the increase are different. So just make sure you count your stitches and you'll be all good. Thanks for watching. I hope that helped.